Hey, what's going on, everyone? You're listening to Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes and we'll give you the world. That's kind of a lie, isn't it? You know, because normally it's 5 minutes and then maybe throw another 5 minutes on for more information. And maybe give it 15 minutes sometimes. Sometimes go up to 20, maybe 25. Really, it all adds up to about 30 minutes at a time.
This is Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes and we'll give you the world.
It's Monday, November 9th, 2009, and this is episode 641 of WDW Today. I'm Matt Hodgman with StudioCentral.com. Joining me on today's show is Mike Scopa, a senior feature writer and blogger for AllEars.net. And Mike, I didn't get a chance to mention this on Friday's show, but the Yankees won. And he can't respond because he's got to do his quote. Go ahead, Mike.
Run, princess, run away and never come back. Go.
Len's favorite ride, which would be Snow White.
Snow White's Scary Adventures.
Wow.
Len,
Nice.
that was many years ago we did that. Remember that?
Oh, that was 2005. That was a hoot. Ben, yeah.
Yeah, and we rode that, I think, the most times we ever rode that ride ever, like in consecutive sessions.
Yeah, the cool thing about Ben is it's his favorite ride, and he at the time he had been on it just over 1,000 times, the one ride, and and I know he passed 2,000 last year, so he's got to be up around 3 now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But the funny thing was reading or was riding with his parents, who I was asking him how they stay sane on that ride so many times, and they said that they actually go through the ride and think about ways that they can improve it.
Yeah.
Every time through. Yeah, it's kind of neat.
Well, of course, Len Testa, co-author of the initial guide to Walt Disney World, is joining us. And Len, you also mentioned on Friday's show you teased you had a story for us.
So two things. One, we thank the guys at the Season Pass podcast for doing the intro on today's show. That was hysterical.
Yeah, that was great.
Season Pass. It's seasonpasspodcast.com. Thanks, guys. But here's my great insight. So I'm working on the new color guide for the unofficial guide, so it's full of color photos, and I had to redo sort of the attraction reviews for the park, for the Animal Kingdom, and here I realized what's wrong with the Animal Kingdom. There's no humor in the park. I mean, other than it's tough to be a bug, there's nothing funny in the park. It's all just sort of educational, dry, and bland. There's no humor, there's no joy, there's no levity in the park.
That's a good point.
That's what it is.
Yeah, well. That's why
you know what we need? We need animals that throw banana cream pies.
Or runaway mine cars.
Or runaway, yeah, well, apparently some sort of, apparently some sort of defective industrial machinery is the solution to every problem in Disney World.
Right. You go on it, but then it goes dangerously wrong.
Exactly. It's amazing their cruise ships are still working. I don't know.
It's like just adding Rob Schneider to any film. It's instant gold.
It's gold. Comedy gold, Jerry. Comedy gold.
You can do it.
Also joining us on today's show
And that about wraps up today's show.
And thank you. Goodbye.
Also joining us is Mike Newell of Mouse World Radio. Welcome to the show, Mike.
I got nothing after that.
Go out on top, Mike. That's what I got. And also joining us on today's show is the fabulous Annette Owens, a manager of customer relations and group services for MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. Welcome, Annette.
Hey, guys.
And on today's show, we're doing a topic called Worth It or Not. And this is a topic that actually Mr. Scopa came up with. So, Mike, you basically we're looking at a number of different various things at Walt Disney World and determining, is it worth it? Is it worth our money or not, right?
Well, first off, I didn't come up with it. That was come up by one of our former guests, who's a colleague of mine on AllEars.net, Michelle Scribner McLean, and she happened to send that to me, and she said, gee, why don't you guys, think about talking about this? So I want to make sure that I give the correct props to the correct person. But basically, Matt, we're going to talk about some services that are down there at Walt Disney World, and which ones we feel as a group are worth it, which ones we feel are not worth it. We've talked about this from time to time. We'll mention things on different shows, but it's probably a good idea to just focus on things like restaurants or attractions or resorts or other things. So I think this would be a interesting show.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's keep it a little timely here to start things off, and let's talk about Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party. It's obviously coming up. Unless, of course, you're listening to this in March, in which case, Happy St. Patrick's Day. back to the real Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party. So, worth it or not? Scope, why don't you start things off here?
I believe that it's worth seeing at least. I think that everyone should experience it at least once. I think that it allows you to see certain things that you would not normally see. I think that it gives you a real good feeling. It's a Christmassy thing. It's a real seasonal thing. So I think it's worth it at least once. I think it's a very difficult thing to say to someone, don't bother seeing it, because I think for some people they may feel it'd be worth it. For others, they may not. I happen to be one of those people who, I don't mind doing it once every year. I really enjoy it. It gets me into the Christmas spirit. So I think, personal standpoint, I think it's worth it.
Yeah, I agree with you that if you've never done it before, you absolutely should. I think that if you haven't done it in a couple of years, you absolutely should. Should you do it every year? No, I don't think it's worth it to do every year, and that's just because the party is very much the same every year. But certainly, it's something that I would totally recommend doing, every couple of years, or certainly if you've never done it before. Newell?
It's almost tradition to go. To me, it's worth going.
Okay, fair enough. Let's move on to a favorite of ours, Disney Quest.
That's
Well,
still
being
around?
a person that doesn't do a lot of games,
What is the cost these days?
well,
It's like $30-something now for admission, I believe, for one day.
Haven't been there in a while.
Yeah. Well, Annette, you were saying?
I was saying, my family, we went, and after about an hour and a half, that tells you how much fun we are with games and stuff. We are like, okay, done.
Yeah,
Been there, done that.
I didn't like it at all. I went there. This year I had gotten for the first time a premium annual pass, and admission to Disney Quest is included. So I went to go check that out. And really, if I was paying for it, I would not recommend doing it. I don't think it's worth it if you're paying cash for it, because there's two aspects to it. There's the video games, which are fine, I guess, but I mean you can go play video games anywhere. But the things that you should really be going there for, the signature attractions that are in there, like Cyberspace Mountain, like the Pirates of the Caribbean and Jungle Cruise, they're so dated and so old.
You're absolutely right, man.
That's why I can't recommend doing it. That's why I don't think it's worth it.
In its day, during the first 5 years of it opening, I think it was well worth it. Now, like you said, there has been, as far as I can see, there really hasn't been much added to it over the last 5 years because, as we all know, there's been these rumors of it closing down.
Yeah, if you have a premium annual pass, okay, I mean, it's part of your pass. Maybe you go there, spend a couple hours playing some video games. I mean, it's kind of cool because they have an area that has the old video games, and that is kind of fun to play, some classic video games. But really, if someone say, hey, should I go spend the money over there? I can't say that. Len, do you agree with me?
I do.
That was easy.
That was easy. Good. Damn right you should be.
Yes.
Yeah. And here's one, keeping it, well, it's not so much timely, but it's just past Food and Wine Festival.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so just past here.
The thing about Food and Wine is that, I think of all the things that we've mentioned so far, you probably get the best value for your money at Food and Wine.
Yeah.
I think it'd be hard to I think debate that.
Yeah, I think, I put this on here because I was interested in hear people's thoughts on it, but I do think it's worth it. I mean, there are certain times where, there's certain foods and certain booths that are either too expensive or there's not enough of the food or whatever it may be, but I really do think overall it's definitely worth it, and it's such an interesting and unique event for Walt Disney World that I definitely recommend check. I mean, it's the kind of thing that you really can go there every year and find something different to check out. So I'm a big fan of it.
Cool. Me too. I'm a huge fan of it.
E3.
4.
All right, now while we're talking about food, then now let's get into something a little. I think this will be very interesting. The Disney dining plan. This will be interesting to hear what our listeners have to say about it. But among the what do we got here? 5 of us. Disney dining plan.
I don't know, man.
Yeah,
It's changed so much over the last 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. When it first came out, I thought there was I saw value in it. I could see, that definitely. I remember you and I and Dave Marks, we had a discussion. I believe it was at Magic Meets, if I'm not mistaken. We were discussing the merits of it.
Yep.
And that was on the old dining plan. And since then, Disney has changed it. They dropped the appetizer. You get the dessert now. They dropped the gratuity.
Oh, there's all kinds of restrictions depending upon the restaurant. There are just too many too many things that have been carved away here and there to convince me it's not worth it anymore.
Yeah, it's just tough.
Yeah, I mean, you try to look at it. I try to look at it from this perspective. I say, well, how could it be worth it? What are the benefits of the dining plan? And you look at one is the ability to prepay for your meals, to which I say, just put some money away ahead of time, and that'd be a good alternative to that. Buy yourself an American Express gift card. Pay that off ahead of time, and that way you can just saying, and that way you can have kind of it. Spend that there, and also you won't be forced into a lot of the extras. I think one thing that I really don't like is the dessert option, especially at the counter service restaurants. I never order the dessert. If
I know.
Cash.
I mean, it's been refrigerated for a week. You're talking about like the pies and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
None of that's good.
Yummy.
Well, see, and normally Mark and I go down, we split meals. I don't even eat a full meal. So imagine if I have to go and get a full-blown meal with dessert. I just don't eat that much.
And that goes back to, again, the value of it. Is it worth it or not from a value standpoint? And I just don't think there's value in it.
Yeah, I agree.
Here's another one. Illuminations Cruise.
I don't think it was meant to be seen from a boat, and I'll leave it at that.
Ooh. I used to be of your opinion, Len, and then I went to the mountain and saw Skibetto. And I came back from the mountain. And I came with these 15. 10.
Come in.
10.
These 15?
Newell.
Yes.
And Annette, we all did the Wishes Cruise. I didn't think that there's good value in that because you're bobbing around.
You're so far away, too.
You're so far away. You're right about that.
You're hearing a lot of the boat noise to keep you in place.
Yes.
You're smelling diesel,
Exactly.
Which, okay, that's a bonus, okay.
That makes for a better experience.
Pick the heck of a day to stop sniffing diesel. But the Illuminations Cruise, I really saw. Are there better places to see it? Yeah, but in terms of, is it worth the money? That's the thing. Does it come down to the money thing? I absolutely think it's great. If you do the per person cost, you can accommodate a number of people on there.
Right.
And I can see the value in it, so I'm going to go on the record and say it is worth it. What do you think, Scopa?
I think that it is worth it. I think that a couple things. I think that if you have a large group of people, I think that the cost is acceptable. I think that all the drivers, especially Mike Skibetto himself, they're very entertaining. They're very considerate. They give you a really good experience. I think that it's very much like Mickey's Very Merry. I think that everybody should do it once. Just riding in a boat in those waterways, I think is also an extra that people should experience.
Yeah, I'll also add that the Breathless by and far is so much better than the pontoon ride, and certainly if you're going to shell out the cash for it, the Breathless 2 or the pontoon boat, I would definitely go for the Breathless. And like you said, Mike, and this is also the Len's point. Should you go do an Illuminations Cruise every time you go to Walt Disney World? Is it the way to see it? No. But it's definitely something I would definitely try at least once, and certainly for special occasions. It's hard to beat in my estimation. All right, I got one here for you, Len. I'm really interested to hear what you say about this one.
Okay.
The Grand Floridian.
No, I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's so in terms of its. The only possible advantage it has over the Polynesian is that it's one step closer on the monorail to the Magic Kingdom.
That's it.
I don't think that its restaurants are better than the Polys. I don't think that its service is better. I don't think that the rooms are necessarily better. They're different decor. They're lighter in color.
Right. It's a different theme.
It's a different theme.
But the rooms are smaller.
Rooms are smaller. I don't think this. Again, I've said this before. I don't think the Grand Floridian is Disney's flagship resort. I know they say it is.
Yeah.
But it would be.
They price it that way.
I know. I think in terms of deluxe hotels, I would stay at the Poly above, and even some of the contemporary rooms above the Grand Floridian, and I'd even consider staying at. So if I like Epcot a lot, I'd stay at one of the Epcot resorts before I'd stay at the Grand Floridian again.
I agree 100% with Len. I've spent many nights at the Polynesian, and I could have swung a couple at the Grand Floridian. There's just something when I walk into the Grand Floridian, something just doesn't hit me right, and I think it seems like it's overpriced. It just seems like it's just.
It's got to be close to $600 a night for most, in the between 5 and 6 a night, right?
Yeah.
And unless, Bell's involved, with
Yeah.
makeup calls, I'm not going there.
Yeah, well, I think
And her
it's
twin sister. Go ahead.
Beth?
Bone Beth.
old Beth.
See, I was just joking. You thought it out. That's the complete difference there between
Bell
us.
has to.
Mine was just a spur of the moment smart. You, on the other hand, have a plan.
Forethought.
I mean,
Years in the making. Yeah.
The issue, I mean, I guess really for me, more than anything, is the pricing. I mean, it's just, you look at the prices and you say, okay, well, here's the price for a room at the Grand Floridian, here's a room for the room at the Apollo, and here's the price for the room at the Contemporary.
What are you
And-
paying for? Are you
Yeah.
paying for proximity to the Magic Kingdom? Big deal.
Yeah. I think you're paying for the fact that it's the flagship. I think that's the only thing I can see, because like Len said, it's like a couple 100 feet closer.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I don't get, and that's why, what's also interesting is I've never had that, like, the desire to stay there in terms of, like, it's never really attracted me, other than the fact that it was, I mean, it's the flagship one, when you watch, TV and you see Walt Disney World featured, more often than not, the Grand Floridian is usually there, but, in terms of, which resort I would want to stay at right now, give me a list, I would definitely pick the Contemporary and the Polynesian way ahead of the Grand Floridian, and it's just, I don't know. It's like, it's just, it doesn't draw anything to me. Never mind the expensive price of it, that's associated with that.
See, I'm not drawn to the decor of it at all.
Yes.
So it's just a little, and this is going to sound so funny, but it's so frilly and frou-frou for me. I really and truly, it's just,
Miss Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique.
And that is this you?
I know everybody's shocked. No, and that was my first reaction when I went in the first time, the only time I stayed at the Grand Floridian. I went in and I was just like, there's teacups on the pillow. It's all Alice in Wonderland, and it was all dainty, and that's just not me.
Len, what do you think, if you could reassign the flag, what do you think is the flagship resort at Walt Disney World?
I think for practical purposes, it can't be the Polynesian, so it'd probably have to be the Contemporary by default.
Certainly with Bay Lake Tower, I think that probably gets the extra oomph.
I mean, the rooms are nicer. I don't think it has all of the amenities, but close enough. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Cool. Well, that's going to do it for us today. Certainly, if you want to visit, get more information about the podcast, share our show notes, send us your comments, visit the WDW Today website at WDWtoday.com. For Len Tenston, Mike Scopa, Mike Newell, and the fabulous Annette Owens, I'm Matt Hochberg. We'll see you on the next show.
Stupid Judy, stupid energy.
This has been a production of Mouse World Radio.